The wind howled outside as the neon sign of Maggie's Diner flickered in the cold night. The parking lot was nearly empty, save for an old pickup truck and a few rusted cars. Inside, the air smelled of coffee, grease, and rain-soaked pavement. Anna, the night shift waitress, moved between the booths with her tired smile, the kind she'd learned to wear even when her feet ached and her back screamed. It was a slow night. Only an old couple sat in the corner, quietly sharing a slice of apple pie, while a young woman at the far booth stirred a bowl of soup that had long gone cold. The woman's name was Lila. Her hands were thin, her face pale with exhaustion. Her coat was too light for November, and her shoes looked worn. She had been sitting there for almost an hour, barely touching her food. Every few minutes, she looked toward the window as if expecting someone, but no one came. Anna noticed the way Lila clutched a small coin purse, checking it again and again, as if the number of coins inside might change. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" Anna asked softly as she refilled the woman's water. Lila forced a small smile. "Yes, thank you. I'm just resting a bit." Anna nodded but didn't press. She'd seen that look before. People too proud to admit they were hungry. People who came in just to feel warm for a while. The bell above the diner door suddenly clanged, making everyone jump. The cold night air rushed in, along with the sound of rumbling engines outside. 5 men in leather jackets walked in, bikers. Their boots hit the floor in heavy rhythm, the smell of rain and gasoline following them. The leader was tall, broad-shouldered, with a dark beard streaked with gray and a faint scar that ran from his cheek to his jaw. His jacket bore the words Iron Vultures Motorcycle Club. Anna swallowed hard. Bikers weren't unusual on the highway, but something about this group made the whole diner tense. Even the old couple froze mid-bite. The leader, Rex, looked around, then nodded toward a booth near the window. 5 burgers, fries, and coffee, he said, his voice deep and commanding. "And make the coffee strong." "Yes, sir," Anna replied, trying to sound calm. As she turned to the kitchen, she could feel the woman's nervous eyes watching the bikers. Lila instinctively pulled her coat tighter, as if to disappear into the corner. The bikers laughed loudly, sharing jokes, slapping the table, their heavy voices filling the quiet room. But Rex didn't laugh much. He sat silently for a moment, staring at the rain outside, lost in thought. When the food arrived, steaming burgers, fries, and hot coffee, the smell made Lila's stomach twist painfully. She hadn't eaten properly in days. Her daughter Sophie was at home with a neighbor, fast asleep. Lila had told her there'd be food in the morning, but that was a lie. She watched the bikers eat hungrily, devouring their plates. They looked rough and dangerous, yet there was something oddly human about the way they talked. About engines, old friends, and roads that stretched across the country. When they finished, their plates were still half full. Bits of burger, untouched fries, half-drunk coffee. Anna moved in to clear the table, stacking the heavy plates. That's when Lila stood up. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Excuse me, she said, her hands shaking slightly. Can I take the leftovers? For my daughter? The diner went completely still. Even the old jukebox in the corner seemed to pause its soft tune. Anna froze, plate in hand. Lila's cheeks burned with embarrassment. She's just little, she added quickly. I don't mean to be rude, she hasn't eaten much lately. Rex turned his head slowly. The other bikers stopped talking. One of them, a big man with tattoos covering his arms, muttered under his breath. What did she just say? Lila immediately took a step back. I'm sorry, forget I asked, she whispered, but Rex stood up. The sound of his boots echoed through the diner. He was tall, taller than she expected, and his presence filled the room like thunder. He looked down at her, his expression unreadable. You want the leftovers? He asked quietly. Lila swallowed. Yes, sir, just for my daughter. I don't have much money, and before she could finish, Rex reached into his jacket. The waitress flinched. For a split second, the entire diner held its breath. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a thick leather wallet. He flipped it open, counted out several crisp bills, and laid them gently on the counter. Miss, he said, his tone surprisingly soft now, These aren't leftovers anymore. They're your meals. Fresh ones. Lila's eyes widened in shock. I can't take that. You can, he said firmly. Because once, a long time ago, I was in your shoes. And someone did the same for me. The room was dead silent. Even the rain outside seemed to quiet down. Rex looked over at Anna. Pack up a few meals. Hot ones. Maybe some pie too. Anna's throat tightened. She nodded quickly and hurried to the kitchen, wiping tears from her eyes as she went. The other bikers looked at their leader with surprise, but none of them said a word. One of them finally asked softly, "You okay, boss?" Rex gave a small smile. "Yeah," he muttered. "Just remembering some old debts I never got to repay." When Anna returned, she handed Lila a large paper bag filled with steaming food, burgers, fries, slices of pie, and 2 cups of coffee. Lila clutched it to her chest like a treasure. Her voice broke. "I don't know how to thank you." Rex simply nodded. "Feed your daughter. That's thanks enough." The old couple in the corner smiled faintly, and even the tattooed biker reached into his pocket, pulling out a small toy keychain shaped like a motorcycle. He handed it to her. "For your kid," he said gruffly, avoiding her eyes. When the bikers finally left, their engines roared to life outside, fading into the stormy night. Lila stood by the door, still in disbelief, clutching the bag tightly. "God bless you," she whispered into the empty night. Anna came over and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You see, honey," she said softly, "sometimes the roughest souls carry the kindest hearts." As Lila walked into the cold with food for her daughter, she turned back one last time, watching the diner lights reflect on the wet road, and for the first time in months, she smiled. That night, everyone who witnessed it carried the memory home, a simple act of compassion from a man no one expected it from. Because sometimes the real strength isn't in power or fear. It's in kindness, the kind that silences an entire diner.